study up and know your stuff.
Necronomicon is coming.
So this one is going to be about the concept of to know, which is the first segment of the to know, to will, to dare, and to keep silent axiom that after doing a little bit of research, albeit the fact that I read this phrase years ago and I've been kind of thinking about it on and off, and I made these vids. That's a Thelemite thing. You guys can look up that term and whatnots, but the concept of to know really has to do with know what you are doing. So basically, know what aspect or what kind of spell work would be most effective and would be best to correct the situation that you are in, and would be best to address the aspect of your life that you want to change. Now, there's many different types of spells that are listed in. God, there's so many different spell books where they're pretty much all basic. It's really hard to find a new book nowadays. That's why I keep saying I have about 50 something, because I haven't really bought any books in a really long time, because they pretty much all go through the same kinds of spells. I mean, let's go through a list here. I always do lists, don't I? Anyway, you have like candle magic, binding spells, short list. You open up any book and they talk about spells with spells with candles, spells with cords. Use this colored candle for this. Use this colored candle for that. If you want to do this kind of binding, you use a red candle. If you want to do this kind of binding, red cord. If you want to do this kind of binding, you use a black cord. If you want to do a spell for money, of course there has to be like a nickel, dime, penny, quarter, half dollar, dollar bill, $5. You get the idea. Somewhere in your spell work. Basically, any kind of spell that you want to do, you gotta know the process behind it. You have to know the mechanics behind it, and why you put these specific things on your altar, or why these specific tools are being used for that type of spell work, or why you are performing these specific actions. It really goes along with anything that you do. Reese is actually going to leave my computer. Move your tuchus out of the way there, Fatbutts. Anyway, to know really has to do with knowing that you can do, and knowing the correct process behind anything that you do, whether it be in mundane life, your work, your job, your house, your family life, interacting with people, and knowing exactly what process to go through when you're doing spell work. Basically, study up on how to perform a specific spell. You don't want to constantly be referring to a piece of paper going, okay, I lit the candle, what do I do next? Because that kind of takes you out of that deep psychodrama to create the change in your life. I mean, that's why I've made the basically how-to quick guide when it came to walking the gates, because it makes it super easy, and why I started writing Lamadou Dingir, because it makes it super easy to follow the gate walking system, so you don't have to constantly refer back to the book, because it's not so complicated. The more that we have to second guess ourselves, and the more that we have to refer to a process, and the more that we have to stop and think about things rather than just, hey, I know my stuff and I'm going to go with it, then the less energy it has, the more it gets convoluted. The acting in a chord video, whenever we kind of pause and think, it frays the energy out rather than letting it go straight at its target. Knowing your stuff, regardless of what job you're in, or regardless of what kind of spell you're doing, you are definitely going to be more effective at it if you know exactly what you're doing, and you're not second guessing yourself, and you're not asking your coworkers, hey, how do I do this? And wow, this relates to my personal life lately. Anyway, I always draw personal connections. So when you're doing a spell, you gotta memorize how to effectively do it. That's why, for example, I always go back to this one. When you're doing a binding, your first binding is not going to be as effective as your second, third, fourth, fifth. Same reason why when you start driving a car, and you get to know your car a little bit better, and you really understand how much you push on the gas pedal to increase your speed or to keep your speed. I mean, when I was learning how to drive, the idea of holding the same speed on the road without using cruise control. I'm trying to remember if the Ford Focus that I had as a driving school car actually had cruise control. Nope, it didn't. Eidetic / photographic memory, for the most part. It comes and goes. But basically, I hear random tapping. Interesting. Wow, that really threw me off. But the more you practice with something and the more confident that you feel with something, the more that you will know the process, the more that you will know exactly what you are doing, and the more effective it will be. That's why the first time you do a spell, it's not as effective as the 30th time that you do it, because the more that you get in the flow, the more subconscious it becomes, the more that you remember what you're doing, and the easier that things become, the quicker the result of your intention and the result of your efforts actually comes towards you, so and actually manifests in your life. The idea that, let's say you want to clean something, but you don't exactly know what type of detergent, what type of tool, what type of cleaning product that you can buy is the best one. So, you have a massive stain or something. First you try dish soap. I don't know, I'm just pulling stuff out of my butt here. First you try this thing, and of course it's the worst thing for it, so it doesn't work. Then you do a little research, you try something else. Okay, it works a little bit better. Then you do some more research, and all of a sudden, boom, you find the perfect thing to clean whatever the hell that is, and bam, it takes it right out. Or you're trying to, in my personal life, you're trying to teach a kid a specific skill. So first you wing it, and you're like, hey, I learned it this way, why don't I try this? Then you do some research, and you're like, oh, this student, this person kind of has these specific difficulties, or they didn't receive the information, they didn't take it in when I taught it this way. So I read an article, or I talked to a friend, and they told me about this method that is much easier, much simpler, and it comes across much quicker. Well, 1, I did research. 2, I practiced it. And 3, I implemented it, and chances are it worked better. The more that you do research, the more that you practice these things, and the more that they become more of an easy flowing thing, because you grow in confidence, you grow in understanding, and it just happens, then the more effective that your spell work is going to be. Like, think about the first time you ever drove a car, or the first time you ever rode a bike, or the first time you ever tried something. You sucked at it. You were wondering if you were going to fall off the bike. You were wondering if you were going to face plant on the skateboard. You were wondering if you even were going to make it out of the parking lot. Because I'm thinking of the stereotypical first time that somebody gets in the car, and the car goes, stops, and you hear the squeaking of the brakes, and the driving instructor is like, oh my god, this is going to be the longest day ever. Really didn't happen to me. Even when I played Cruis'n USA, when I was in an arcade every 4th of July growing up, I always tried to stay in the lanes and stuff. So I kind of subconsciously, at least at that point, but overall, I had a lot of mental practice, even though I wasn't really behind the actual wheel of an actual car. And let's face it, those driving games, they do not mimic real life driving at all. That's beside the point. So the idea of to know really has to do with studying up on your stuff, knowing that you can do something, knowing exactly how to do it, and knowing exactly how to do it. Sorry about my blah English here. And basically to know is studying, growing in confidence, and executing what you want, and the results will show up. Now, I always think that these things are around like 4 minutes or something when I finish them, but hey, I hit the 9-minute mark again. So this is the conclusion of my To Know, To Will, To Dare, and To Be Silent series backwards. I kind of think that I realized why I did them backwards, because when they come up on my uploads on my channel and things, you're going to find the last one first, so it will actually show up as To Know, To Will, To Dare, and To Be Silent. My subconscious worked that one out for me. Sometimes you just got to trust your instincts and things will work out. Anyway, check out all my other vids for magical mechanics, talks on the Necronomicon, the gate walking, my upcoming manuscript, which, by the way, my dad, who I sent my final draft of the manuscript to, who is an avid reader. The guy does nothing but read. golf and do work. And he is a really, really thorough person, and he's already helped me edit practically my entire intro. And I think I'm going to be working with him on it a little bit this weekend. I can't wait to see how far we get, because that will foster my acting in accord of wanting to release the book by the end of the year. And I'm really looking forward to it. Thanks for watching, and good hunting.